And there it is. The Mets have officially bowed out of competition for this year, selling off two of their future Hall of Fame pitchers. Verlander's gone, and he's going right back to Houston, where he called home from 2017 to 2022, racking up a World Series ring, 2 Cy Young Award victories. The trade is, again, a future Hall of Famer. This one they're getting an outfielder, Drew Gilbert, who ranks in as the number 68 in baseball. They talked about Scherzer yesterday. Let's talk about Verlander, because they are much in similar spots. Very much getting up there in age. Verlander 40, Scherzer 39, and both of which had a little unconventional years. Obviously, they're old, but they've been known to age like fine wine. But I will say Verlander is getting back on track now. An ERA plus at 131, meaning he is definitely a above average pitcher. He's been good this year. The contract would just lead you to think otherwise because he makes more than $40 million a year. But at his peripherals, a couple things you'll notice. He's not striking out batters like he used to. Of course, even last year when he won the Cy Young, it wasn't, quite 2019 Cy Young Justin Verlander. 9.5 compared to the 12.1 that he had back in 2019. This year, he's dropped all the way down to 7.7 strikeouts per 9, and that has definitely hurt him. He's walking batters at double the clip than he was from last year, but otherwise, he's very much so been Justin Verlander. Similar things with Scherzer, general control issues. He's always had issues giving up the long ball, but more walks than normal has led him to have a higher ERA, but he has been pitching much better the last month or so. I definitely think that the Astros are getting them a pitcher that puts them in the prime spot to maybe overtake those Rangers who just got Scherzer. Very cool that we get to see two guys who were teammates for all of 3.5 months, mind you, now battling it out as the top 2 seeds in the American League West. And the Mets in return are getting a good one. They're going to pick up Drew Gilbert, born in St. Paul, Minnesota. Just figured I have to mention that. If anybody is from your home state, especially a state as rare to produce good MLB products like Minnesota, you got to point it out. But Drew is a 22-year-old lefty. He's an outfielder. He's going to play center field most. He has great range out there. He's been touted highly for his arm, grading at a 60, which is pretty dang high. He was drafted out of the first round just last year for the Houston Astros, and this season at A+ baseball in Asheville, he lit the field on fire with an 1100 OPS. Since he got called up to Corpus Christi in AA, not quite so much. The batting average dropping 120 points. The OPS at a 713. He's still walking, and he's not striking out a lot, something that we had high praise for Luis Angel Acuna just yesterday. Very good things to see from young baseball talent. Mix that in with the guy who's going to command the outfield well instantly. If you wanted to bring him up young, he already has those tools right there. Some more news just broke, some more information out there. There's another one. There's another player, Ryan Clifford. He's also going back to the Mets in this deal. He's ranked number 4 in the Houston Astros farm system, Drew Gilbert being number 1. Clifford is also a left-handed outfielder. He's 20 years old, drafted last year, just the same as Gilbert. And he's not just an outfielder, he's also going to play some first base. He's played more corner outfield than first. He's played 33 games at first this year, 27 in right, and 18 in left field. He, much like Drew Gilbert, got off to a very good start in Asheville. He hit 16 home runs in 58 games. Now, a couple differences between the two is obviously that Clifford's going to play some first base. He's not as athletic. He's not as good of an outfielder as Drew Gilbert is. So assume that he's going to spend some time flexing between those two spots. And also, he strikes out more. In the span of a couple of days is pretty good. we're going to talk in a separate video about what this really means for the Mets and all that, because that's a much deeper conversation, I think, but looking specifically at this trade, and we don't know how the money makes out quite yet. I know the Rangers got off on about $22 million on Scherzer's deal. We'll have to see what happens with Verlander. They had very similar contracts going into this, but overall, looking at the Mets right now, they're clearly not in a place to contend. The Braves are too good. The Marlins have been better than you would have thought. The Phillies are probably a playoff team, or at least in the hunt there too. And it's just not really feasible that they're going to get there. They realize it. Good for them. It is a seller's market, as we talked about yesterday. And then as far as the Astros go, they got their guy. They're very familiar with him. It's no secret that since Verlander got there, he rejuvenated his career. His last couple seasons in Detroit, he was not looking like the future Hall of Fame Justin Verlander. He didn't look like a shell of himself, but he lost a touch. And he was one of the best pitchers, if not the best pitcher in the entire game from 2017 trade deadline on. 2 Cy Youngs, a World Series championship, some of the best postseason pitching that you will find out of Justin Verlander. And he's coming back into that already loaded team. They've had some injuries this year, which has held back their record, but they're getting healthy. Yordan Alvarez and Jose Altuve just came back into that lineup. They're going to be very good, and that AL West is going to be a fireworks show from here down the stretch into October.